So Vanessa, a return to growth from Great Britain last year, a very welcome return to growth of 5% on the year, and indeed that was very welcome. How does it compare with travel from Britain to other destinations?
Well, I guess firstly, Eamon, if I could just correct a slight mistake there, it was actually 5.4%, which I know is a small difference, but every percentage or even half percentage matters hugely to us at the moment. So just a little correction on that. But I mean, obviously we've been delighted with that. It is a slow beginning return to growth, but it is obviously the first year that we'll have seen the beginning of turning the corner. In terms of how that positions versus outbound travel from GB, obviously 2011 was exceptionally difficult from a GB economic point of view. The estimates are still being finalised at the moment. It looks as though all outbound traffic from GB was flat, so no growth, no decline. However, when you dig into that a little bit, from a European perspective, for example, so on a broader European scale, we saw growth of about 2% from GB to Europe. And then within the top markets within Europe, I think we're looking at probably about a growth of 5%. So we are absolutely on the top end of what's happening. I say when we look globally in terms of traffic ex-GB, which is flat at the moment. And in fact, forecasts for 2012 and 2013 are being revised downward from a tourism perspective in GB.
I was going to ask you that there was a deceleration, if you can call it that, in growth in the second half. Is that still the case, or are we looking at a more sluggish 2012?
No, I don't think we are. I think there was a little bit of deceleration in quarter three. Basically from about September to November, from a GB perspective, there was a dip of 2%. So, it wasn't a significant deceleration. And indeed, having said that, the month of November, and I know again we're talking small figures here, but the month of November saw a growth of 7% for GB. No other market saw that from a tourism and perspective. So I think things will continue to be very, very tough. There's certainly no means out of the woods at all. But I think Q1 this year will be very interesting to see where we go, and if we can maintain that steady path of growth, we'll be doing really, really well.
And a slightly stronger sterling, it looks like, this year. That should help.
Absolutely, and that should help enormously. And of course, the improvements that we've seen in the perception of value from the GB perspective versus vis-a-vis Ireland will also be really important. So hopefully those two combined will help us move along in the right direction.
And of course, a brand new campaign concentrating on TV this year, Jump Into Ireland. It's early days, you've only just started in the last week or so, but how do you feel about it at this stage?
Very, very excited. I mean, it's great. The latter part of the year was devoted to developing a new campaign. We did an awful lot of research with the GB consumer to really find out what would make them want to visit Ireland now. We know there's a latent appetite that always has been. That hasn't dwindled at all, but the idea of getting people to go immediately. And we found out that there was something very compelling around this idea of what we call sort of joyful immersion. So the British person really getting excited about being able to imagine themselves on a holiday in Ireland. And that's where the whole Jump Into Ireland came into being. So people imagining themselves being welcomed, being part of the community, part of the local life, if you like, was something that's very compelling and researched very, very well for us in GB. So you say early days, but we
and of
kicked
course
off.
Gave us differentiation from other competing.
Absolutely, and that's the other key factor in terms of standing out from either domestic competitors or indeed European or further afield. So we're very, very excited about it.
That's terrific. We'll have a look at some of those ads now. I know they're not designed for the viewing audience on ITIC's website, but we'll have a look at some of those ads. And thank you, Vanessa, for speaking with us.
Not at all. Thank you very much, Eamon.
Why would you visit Ireland just to gaze at our countryside? Just to admire our pubs? Or stroll through our fair cities, for that matter? Why would you do any of that when you can jump in? Let the place take hold of you. Meet some of the locals. Eat some of the locals if you want. Maybe not those two in mind. Come on, don't be shy. Jump into Ireland. Visit discoverireland.com. Why visit Northern Ireland just to look at the Giant's Causeway? To wander around the legendary home of the Titanic? Or listen to live music in Belfast? When you can jump in! Go on, we want you to! Skip if you like. Get deep under the skin of our stories. Sing your heart out at our festivals. Because with so much going on here in 2012, now's the time to jump into Northern Ireland. Visit discoverireland.com. Why would you come to Ireland just to drive along our country roads? Just to marvel at our historic sites? Or stand and stare at our statues? We want you to jump in! Or even jump on, ride like the wind. Be swept up by our history and dazzled by our stories. Let them speak to you, captivate you. Oh, she's smitten. Go on, jump into Ireland. Visit discoverireland.com.